Hello guys, the movie I'm going to be talking about today is Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks movie, and I watched this with my mom on my birthday, February 25th. I wanted to spend some time with my mom and watch some good movies. I watched another one with her that I'll review, but I really love this movie. This is a movie that a lot of people might be surprised if they talk to me that I haven't seen yet. There's a lot of movies I haven't seen yet, okay? But there's a lot of movies everybody hasn't seen, right? But I'm a huge fan of, the Mel Brooks movies that I've seen. Actually, Airplane is I would consider, the best comedy of all time. It's my favorite. I watched it as a kid and I always loved it. I've watched it over and over and over again. And, I don't know why that one speaks to me so much, but like I said, maybe because I saw it first, but I also like Leslie Nielsen. I like all the stuff that Leslie Nielsen's done, the, Naked Gun and Dracula Dead and Loving It. And, most of the stuff that I've seen Leslie Nielsen in, I like him. So that's kind of a mix, it's a Mel Brooks comedy with, I love absurdity. I love, the random comedy. These movies are like parody movies. They're making fun of cliches and stuff and the similar genres. This is about Western movies, and Mel Brooks also did Spaceballs, which was a spoof on Star Wars and stuff like that, and a lot of people really love that, and like that's their favorite number one comedy, people that are really into sci-fi. And I love that one too a lot. So, but Airplane's always been my favorite, and I'd still prefer it over this. But they're all at the top anyway, so there's not even really competition between them. But Blazing Saddles. Everyone that I talked to about this movie before I watched it, they all talk about how controversial it is, and it couldn't be made today because it has to do with a lot of subject of racism, and I agree, it's over the top. It's controversial, and it might offend a lot of people, but I enjoyed it. I come from the era that we enjoy stuff like this. So like somebody told me, it wouldn't be made today, and I agree. There'd probably be the Twitter mob would go after the director and everything, and they'd have to make changes or just shut it down or something. And people might be offended that I even say that I like this movie. And somebody else told me, are you going to watch it on TV or whatever? You need to actually get the movie, because you watch it on TV, then like everything's going to be cut out of it. But I've probably even seen more offensive stuff. I don't know what exactly would come to mind, but I liked what one commentator said about this movie. He said that this movie does everything to make you laugh except hit you over the head with a rubber chicken. And he's right. There's just so many different types of comedy that are in this movie. Let's see what it says on the back of it. Mel Brooks comic saga of cowboys and imbeciles. The railroad's bound to run right through the sleepy town of Rock Ridge. Land there will be worth a fortune. Land there will be worth a fortune, but the townfolk already own their own land. How do you drive them out? Send in the roughest, toughest, meanest, leanest gang you've got, and appoint a new sheriff you figure will last about 24 hours. But that's not really the plot of Blazing Saddles, just the pretext. Once Mel Brooks' lunatic film, many call it his best, gets underway, logic is lost in a blizzard of gags, jokes, quips, puns, howlers, growlers, and outrageous assaults upon good taste. Any taste at all. Cleveland Little as the new lawman, Gene Wilder as Wacko Waco Kid, which I was surprised. I don't really know much about Cleveland Little, but he was good. I thought all the actors in this were funny and good, and there's some that I particularly liked, but I don't remember the characters and I don't know the actors' names, so it doesn't really help out much. But I can say some of the lines that they said that made me laugh. And this is going to have spoilers, obviously. I'm going to talk about the plot and everything. I was surprised how it seemed how little Gene Wilder did in this movie. I mean, he was there, but it didn't seem like he was really the main focal point of it, which I thought he would be. I thought like any movie that he was in, he would be like the main star. And he was kind of like the side guy to the sheriff, the Cleveland Little. Brooks himself as dim-witted Politico, and Madeline Kahn in her Marlene Dietrich send-up that earned an Academy Award nomination all give this Sagebrush Saga their lunatic best. Did she get an Academy Award nomination for this movie? Is that what it's saying? It's interesting. Sagebrush Saga, their lunatic best. When Blazing Saddles can't contain itself at the finale, it just proves the Old West will never be the same. And so Mel Brooks playing the governor or the mayor or whatever, he's really great at that part. He also plays like an Indian for a little part. He was very funny in this movie. So, I mean, there's just so much that I could say that made me laugh in this movie. Like it said, there's somebody who's wanting to build a railroad through a town, and so the town doesn't want that. They want to get the people out of the town, so they want to send, gangs there and get them scared to run away. And so they try to give them a sheriff that they're going to reject. So they give them this black sheriff, and the town's like racist, basically. So there's a lot of racist jokes there. And like I said, I can talk about things in the movie that I thought were funny that just come to mind. And they probably wouldn't be in order. So, I don't know. One of the things, I remember like when the town's getting together and they're like, what are we going to do or whatever. And they have there's like a town drunk that stands up and he gives like a speech, but he's just rambling like, rah, 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 rah. And then one of the guys that I thought was really funny in there stands up and he starts like clapping or applauding or whatever. And he's like, yeah, that was a great speech. Like we needed to hear this rambling from this drunk man. And then he tries to get all like philosophical about how, the drunk speech was good and stuff. It's just absurd. And that same guy says a line where they're kind of panicking about what they're going to do, and it might be after the sheriff already comes, and they think that they're still screwed because they don't trust the sheriff or whatever. And one of the townspeople's like, well, Nishi said that out of, what did he say? Like out of chaos comes something. Like out of chaos comes order or something. That's what he says. And then the guy that I like, he was like, oh, blow it out your ass. Or whatever. And just his response is just funny. It's just... So the movie's rude and crude. And, but there's just so many different types of comedy and gags. Gene Wilder plays the wacko Waco Kid. He's like in the jail when the sheriff gets there. He's actually like an inmate there. And he's like the only inmate there, basically, and they're talking. They become friends. He tells them about how he was like the fastest shooter in the West back in the day and stuff, and the sheriff doesn't believe him. There's like a chessboard, and he's like, okay, you don't believe me? He's like, well, put your hands on each side of that king. He's like, when I say go, you're going to try to snatch that king as fast as you can. And he's like, this is silly, or whatever. And so Gene's saying like he's going to grab the king. And he says go. And the sheriff closes his hands, and he opens them up, and the king's not there. And then Gene Wilder like pulls the king out of his gun holster or whatever. It's just absurd. It's just stupid, but it's funny. It's great. You gotta love it, Just some of the racist stuff, it uses the N-word a lot, the slang term. And like there's one specific instance where like basically the town kind of runs off the black sheriff or whatever. He goes into the jailhouse and he's like talking to Gene Wilder, the Waco Kid, about what's he going to do, how's he going to persuade these people to get behind him and stuff. And he's like, I'm just going to go out there or whatever. So the black sheriff goes out there and there's like an old lady. And he's like, good morning, ma'am, or whatever. And she's like, oh, up yours. and she says the N-word, and she's just like straight up rude to him. And it's like, okay, well, he goes back to the thing. Later on, she brings him a pie. She like baked him a pie or whatever. She's like, well, I'm sorry how I was rude to you last time. And she's like, I wanted to bake this for you. And then she's like, but I don't want anybody to know that this conversation happened or whatever. So she's still like, man, so there's gags, there's slapstick comedy where, you know, people are getting injured, and there's fight scenes and stuff like that. There's a lot of horses in this movie, and there's a lot of horses taking falls and stuff. It's pretty amazing. I mean, the sets and stuff really, you know, they put a lot into this movie for just being an absurd comedy. I mean, it's really seems like it was a pretty big budget. At the end, I just jumped to another part that I thought was funny. It was towards the end when the black sheriff decides that we're going to build a fake city where the gang's going to run into. They're going to run into this fake city, and we're going to build it exactly like the real city. And they're going to, you know, they're going to think that they're in the real city, and they're going to destroy it. So then the real city won't be destroyed. And they're like, we've only got like very little time to do this. This isn't even possible. And then so all these railroad workers as slaves, like these black people and Chinese people, show up, and he's like, well, these people want to help us build the city, but you're going to have to give them like a small portion to live in like the real city or whatever. And that guy that said blow it out your ass or whatever, he's like, he might be the mayor or something, I'm not sure. But he was like, at first he's like, no, we can't do that. And then he's like, okay. He's like, all right, we'll take the blacks and the Asians, but no Irish. And I'm like, oh my God. Of course, he said like derogatory terms. He didn't say that, okay? But, and then there's this madam. They try to seduce the sheriff with this woman who's the singer, and she sings, and she's a terrible singer, and that goes on for a while. And there's just so much, you know. I have to watch it again and take notes. I only watched it once, and it's been you know, getting close to being a month now, so I'm just trying to recall. I should have done this a lot sooner. Of course, I'll go over this again and again and again in the future. I'm just getting this out there for now. I'm just sharing that I watched this and I did like it. My mom liked it. And at the end, it breaks the fourth wall at the end, because they're fighting, and then like they end up fighting off the set, and they're like fighting in the streets and stuff, like in the modern day city, and so it just like it's wild, and they're like fighting onto another set of another movie. So all hell breaks loose, you know, literally. The climax of the movie is just insane. So it's crazy throughout the whole movie. There's this big guy, I can't remember. They send this big tough guy to come after him to like fight at the black sheriff, and he ends up tricking this guy. But this big tough guy, he just like punches a horse and just like knocks the horse out. Yeah, it's insane. There's a part that reminded me of the movie Airplane. I'll have to think about it for a second here, where they're having like a board meeting with the governor, with Mel Brooks or whatever, and his sidekick guy is like, because Mel Brooks, the governor, was just completely stupid. So like his sidekick guy really runs things. He's really the one behind the show. And then he has like a sidekick guy who's like dumber than, you know, a bag of rocks or whatever. But he's like, the governor's side guy's like, all right, like tell him meeting is adjourned. And he's like, it is? And he's like, no, like tell them meeting is adjourned. He's like, say meeting is adjourned. He's like, it is? He's like, no, say meeting is adjourned. And he's like, meeting is adjourned or whatever. He's like, tell them. And so it's just this confusion. Like, it reminds me of Airplane, where it's like, what's the vector? Or where he's like, don't call me Shirley. No, don't call me Shirley. Shirley, you can't be serious. And you know, if I just wanted to go every little joke and thing that made me laugh in this movie, this is a whole movie. I mean, it's a great movie. It really is. There's a part where they're eating beans and stuff by a campfire and they're just farting. It's just like farting for like, I don't know, like 20 seconds or whatever. It just goes on, and the farts are just loud and obnoxious, and they just go on. It's like you're gonna laugh at this scene because it's just gonna make you laugh. It's like this movie is gonna make you laugh no matter what. I think. Of course, some people it might make them sick and offended. I don't know. I guess it depends on your sense of humor, but if you like wacky, zany stuff. And, you know, just thinking about how far the parody movies have fallen today, because there's a lot of parody movies of old that I love, and the stuff they come out with today is just not great at all. I mean, then you can make the argument that what's already really good that's been done has been done, and, you know, you can't really top it, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about this, really. It's just I loved it, so I'm sure I'll be watching it again. I'll do more reviews, make more notes on it, but you know, it's definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. I was thinking I could give some movies like absurd ratings and stuff. I give this like 100 out of a 10 because it's not even, it's like in a completely another universe how great this movie is. It's timeless, even though it's old. I don't think that it's not going to affect if anybody today watches it. You know, it doesn't seem outdated. The comedy stands, unless, you know, this generation, you know, this politically correct generation won't like it, but and to slow them down before they get to this fake city, they set up like a toll booth. And so all these guys riding on their horses, they come up to the toll booth and they're like, crap, nobody's got any dimes. Like, somebody go back and get a crap load of dimes. It's like, what? They just, see, what else was there? There's something else I was just thinking of. I don't know. When they're having that board meeting with the governor too, like they pass out like these ping pong paddles, and it's like commentary on the government, like how stupid the officials are and stuff. They're just like amused by playing this ping pong paddle thing. There's probably a lot of commentary in this movie, like social, political commentary. You know, I didn't really think about stuff too deep. Just the first time watching it, I was just taking all this comedy in. But it's fantastic. I'll end this here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be doing more reviews on it. I'd like to know what you think about it. And, you know, I'll be talking about it again. So, thank you for watching. Check this movie out if you like comedies, if you like westerns. So, God bless. Oh.